almost race day and you probably have a lot of mixed emotions. You might be excited, nervous, or have a lot of what-if thoughts. You might be wondering about the things that you should avoid the day before the marathon. One of the worst things that you can do the day before the marathon is consume alcoholic beverages. First of all, alcoholic beverages can dehydrate you because it is a diuretic. The goal is to be hydrated before the competition, not dehydrated. Drinking can make you feel pretty bad and hinder your performance. It can increase your risk of injury. If you decide to go out and party the night before the marathon, you risk being hungover and sick during the race. You also could have a pretty significant headache when you wake up. Another worst mistake that you can make the day before the marathon is doing things at the last minute. You should get your race gear ready the night before the race. You don't want to be scrambling around at the last minute trying to find things the morning of the race. If you are like me and you often take your family with you in the hotel, you don't want to be turning lights on trying to find things when your kids are sleeping. You don't want them to wake up when you are trying to get up super early in the morning, trying to get ready for the race and eat your breakfast. Doing things at the last minute can really create a stressful situation. Doing things at the last minute will also increase your odds of forgetting something when you get to the start line and you can't go back and get it. I'll give you an example of this. So I was at a race and I had my family with me and I decided to do everything the last minute in the morning. And what ended up happening when I got to the start line is that I forgot my watch. I didn't even have my Garmin watch on me at all. And I'm thinking, you know what? It's like 20 minutes till the race starts. I'm not going back and getting that watch. So I just ran a marathon without the watch, but I did have a pretty decent marathon, so it didn't really affect me at all. It's not the biggest deal, but it's not ideal to forget your watch during the race. I just want you to know that if you do forget your watch, don't overly stress because you still could have a good race, because this actually happened to me at one time. If you need more information about what to pack on race day, I do have a video linked above. It'll discuss the items that you should take during your race. So make sure you check that video out if you want a guide to help you know what to pack before the race. I also have a free checklist that you can download, and that is in the link below. And it's going to give you a guide of the items of what you can pack on race day. It's just a checklist, checking them off. In case you want to be prepared and not have to think about it, this is a guide that you can use. Another mistake that you can make the day before the marathon is not resting enough the day before the race. You want to try to stay off your feet as much as possible the day before the race. That is going to be the smartest approach to make sure you're rested when you get to the start line. I know there are marathons we go to and they're more like a runcation, but try to not sightsee the day before. You want to rest as much as possible. Save the sightseeing for after the race. Yeah, you will be sore, but a little bit of walking is going to be good to go sightseeing to help your legs recover a little bit faster. It will promote recovery if you go sightseeing and walk. So I would try to plan it out, if possible, to go sightseeing after the race. So some runners like to do a shakeout run the day before the race. That's not going to hurt anything. It's just kind of helping the runner help them calm their nerves and not be so anxious and just get the blood flowing a little bit. Maybe they might go and jog an easy couple miles just to get things loosened up. It's probably not going to hurt anything. It might not be right for every runner. It's just kind of specific to the individual runner of what works for them. I personally don't run the day before the race. I just stay off my feet, but that would be an instance where it might be okay, but to make sure you're still resting quite a bit before the race. This also includes going to bed early the night before the race. Now this one is easier said than done for me. I always take my kids to my races, and we always have to make it fun for my kids. They're not just want to go to my race. Last couple times we went to Urban Air and the kids would go swimming at the hotel just so they have something to do that's fun for them. I always think it's important to make it fun for your kids as well. A lot of times kids just don't want to go to the race. They want to do some fun things. So that's what I do. And then a lot of times what happens is we get back late. We get back 9 or 10 o'clock at night, wound up, and it's really hard for me to get to bed by midnight. I know I would like to go to bed earlier, but just in this stage of my life, that's just kind of how it is. You have to bring your kids with you during your race, and you know you're probably not going to get to bed very early. Just try to go to bed early the days leading up to the race. Try to get a little more rest than you normally would. At least get 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night, at least a week before the race. So if this happens to you the night before the race and you only get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, it won't be such of an issue to affect your race, hopefully. Another worst mistake that you should avoid the day before the marathon is eating new foods. So don't eat anything new the day before the race or even a couple days before the race. Stick what you are used to. So this means that you should eat a supper that you are comfortable with, ideally some type of pasta or something somewhat bland that's not going to have a lot of spices in it. More than likely I would stick to the pasta or even their pre-race meal before the race. Sign up for that, get that to go. Because that most likely was going to be good for most people, as long as they don't have a wheat allergy or gluten allergy or something like that. But that's probably going to be a good meal for most runners. So stick to something like that, maybe something that they would have at the pre-race meal before the marathon. Don't bring along a new breakfast that you are not used to. I've done that before. Don't do it because it can cause stomach issues. Learn from my mistake and eat something that you normally would eat before the race, or normally would eat during your long runs, or some sort of breakfast like that. If you eat a lot of spicy foods, or have you sometimes eat some greasy food in your diet, don't eat those the day before the race. So I have my kids with me, and they're doing some type of kid activity. We have this Mexican restaurant not too far down the road, and it was getting late, so it's probably like 8 o'clock, and I wasn't able to get any food yet. So I'm like, oh, I'll get that because everything is going to be closing soon. Because it's crazy. When you have your kids with you, you are crazy busy and the time goes super fast and it feels like you don't have enough time to do anything when you're trying to get ready for a race. But I ate spicy food. Whatever they put in the food that I got, it was an extra spicy salsa. Do not eat spicy food. Do not. The next day at the race, I paid for it. Do not do that. Learn from my mistake. Do not eat spicy food before the race. Even in a desperate situation, try to go bland. Even if it's not going to be some sort of pasta or something ideal, don't go spicy. Don't go greasy. Try your best to try to find something else. Even if it's breakfast food like pancakes or something, that's going to be better than eating spicy or greasy food. Another worst mistake that you can make before the marathon is not setting your alarm the night before the race. I would actually set more than one alarm. Set your phone alarm in the hotel, even somebody that's with you, that's staying with you, set their alarm on their phone too. Maybe do a wake up morning call that hotels often offer. The last thing you want to do is not make it to your race because you couldn't get up on time. You've been training many months for it, and what a bummer it would be if you miss it. So set your alarms. Make sure you get up. Make sure you get up in plenty of time. Don't get up at the last minute. You want to have plenty of time to eat and let your food digest. Get ready. Go to the bathroom. Have time to get to when you get to the race, you want time to be able to go to the bathroom because your nerves will set in and you'll most likely need to try to go to the bathroom again. So make sure that you set your alarm. It's so important. Next worst mistake that you can make the day before the marathon is not hydrating properly. You want to make sure you are well hydrated before the race. At the same time, you also don't want to be overhydrated. There's actually a possibility you can overhydrate. It's actually somewhat rare to be overhydrated, but you want to be mindful of it because you don't want it to happen. If you are overhydrated, it dilutes the salt and the electrolytes in your body. It actually could be a dangerous situation. So if you are worried about this, maybe have a little bit of, maybe along with your water before the race, have some Gatorade or some sort of Gatorade or something like that, just because it has a little bit of salt in it, so you can get your sodium levels up a little bit. That could be a wise choice for you. Another way you can check to make sure you're not overhydrated, you want your urine to be like a very pale yellow. That is the goal you want to shoot for before the race, and that should indicate if you are hydrated properly. Another worst mistake that you do not want to make before the marathon is sleeping too little. And like I said earlier, this is a very tough one for me due to the season of life I am in because I take my kids to the race with me. We have to do an activity to make the trip fun for them. We sometimes get back late and they are wound up when we get back to the hotel. So I often get too little sleep before the race. I shared the story earlier of what happens when the kids go with me to races, but this is just kind of something it's hard to avoid as a parent when you have kids and you're going to races. You have to make it fun for your kid, and they're wound up in the hotel room. They're excited about going somewhere new. You might not get enough sleep. Like I said earlier, make sure you're getting plenty of sleep the week leading up to the race. And you should be fine if you can't get a good night's sleep before the race. Ideally, it's always best to lay down early before the race. In reality, it's not possible for all of us runners, especially if you have kids with you. And plus, even if you don't have kids with you, some runners really struggle with not being able to go to sleep. They're too anxious and they're nervous. They're all excited. Their mind's racing about the race and the what if scenarios. Your sleep might just be weird and wacky that night, but more than likely you still can have a good race. But just know it's important to try to strive to get more sleep if you can, as much sleep as possible, like laying down early, because it can improve your performance. Have you made any of these worst mistakes the day before the marathon? Please comment below. I would love to hear your feedback. Make sure you watch the next video on your screen about the 6 marathon race day mistakes.